I got it.
Thank you. Okay. This is a learning process, right? Thank you very much. That's very nice of you. Okay. So I was saying that we did the launching of this book last year in Canada on June 26th, which is, you will see how we prepared. It was prepared by Adriana and Jonathan, both my son and his wife. And then you're welcome to, in the Q&A, to ask Adriana and me about this important emotional biographical moment in our lives. Yet the third part, then I will interrupt, but when the video is over, I have a PowerPoint. The third part, which follows, describes impressive findings about my father's family as a survivor of the Holocaust. And this information is only as recent as between the years 2020 and 2022. So this is this work is more than, we have to more than thank Adriana's aunt Lisi, who is an expert in the search of ancestry in loved ones, in our loved ones. And here you can address Adriana all the questions if she comes up, and if not, you to me, most of them, but she's more immersed in this moving project. For me, I'm still processing it. It was very, very powerful, very moving, and I'm still not fully with it, really. Now, Phil, like you always say, you know, the group that without further ado, I will proceed with the presentation of the video, which I have here. Okay.
We see it.
Por fin. You tell me when. Está grabando, ¿no? Sí.
Turn it on.
Okay. Thank God.
Okay.
This is my son, Jonathan.
Muy buenas tardes. I know this is an event in English, so hi to all of you. I know you speak English and Spanish, and I'm very happy to be here today. Particularly, we have a very important guest. We have a chief of staff of the Orlando Vieira, the ambassador of Venezuela. It was very difficult, but thanks to one of our people in this event, we are happy to have him in person, physically. And it's a pleasure. And to you all, thank you, my dear friends. My family is all here, so I say hello to all my family. It's a pleasure we are really very emotional day. But to my colleagues in New York, that's where I live, or to also my patients, and of course to all Venezuelans who may join us, we are with you. That's perfect. So this event today is, you're all welcome to the posthumous book launch of my father's. It's a monumental 900 pages, believe it or not, autobiographical novel. And it's called Yesterdays. And it's his title, but then we added the extraordinary art and travels of Peter Kerr, because Peter Kerr is the main protagonist of his novel. But it's a novel autobiographical, so you know, we have people here in live, but you are in virtual. And this, you're going to live a very unique experience, very, very unique experience. The joy of having 3 generations for this event is really awesome. I mean, at least for me. And I think for all of you to be able to create the unity in the family, to get to the point to have them all together here and physically, no masks, no, just being together and enjoy and finally present my father's book, which was, he handed his book, he gave it to me in 1971, but not like I'm going to get it right now. I'll show you. This is a very, very heavy book, a lot of work, and for me, it was very cumbersome to read this. So many years since 1971, you know, as Venezuelans, we had to emigrate. So I carried his 3 heavy manuscripts from New York, from Venezuela to New York, and then from New York to Toronto. And then back and forth with the book. And to read it, you can imagine, as a survivor of the Holocaust, when you read this, it's not easy reading because there is a lot of sadness, but there is art, and there is, well, buy the book. I'm joking. Very, very, very awesome. When what I used to do in order to read it, because I'm very busy in my field, what I did is the Christmas holidays I would spend reading the book, but when he got to describe my mother and how he met her, I stopped reading the book for 1 year. I just couldn't do it. You know, it's an emotional thing. It's not just psychology, it's life. So we're presenting this book in the noise of a very uncertain and upside down world. And we are a very atypical and unusual family, you can imagine, because we immigrated to Venezuela. And then we had to rebuild, reinvent our professions, our lives in Canada, in Mexico, in the United States. So I'm going to start with my beautiful third generation. Can you imagine having my great-grandchildren here? I am so blessed, so happy to have him. My dear Jackie, you know when you have a wound or an ouchie? That means that, you know, when there are things you can do when you have an ouchie. You can paint or with magic colors like we did the other day. And Charlie, when you feel uncomfortable, my other, you'll see them soon, of course. There's no way that you're not going to see them. He plays music, the xylophone, and I have to take a course in Pokemon. I really must say that I am not in that field. I have to learn Pokemon. Otherwise, I'm not leaving Canada if I don't learn Pokemon. Anyway, so the very beautiful young ladies that you're going to see, they have been coming to New York, visiting me every year from Mexico to New York, spend a week with me, coming to Toronto, back to Mexico. So, and they are amazing. You're going to meet them. And then, well, I know they create videos. You'll meet Nicole, who's many of the things that you see that I've done recently, thanks to Nicole Levy. She will introduce herself. And then Anael, she's studying film, and our guest has a daughter who's in film, so I'm going to start the connection. Yeah, so, and also they may teach me TikTok. I want to learn how to do TikTok because I think it's very important for the dissemination of very important psychology. So anyway, now for you, the second generation, my son Jonathan and his wife Adriana and my daughter Sophia, for them, it has been much more difficult to adapt to another culture, to get a job, to make friends. It's you know, of that generation, it's not an easy task, and we do all miss very much Venezuela, and we would love, we are true Venezuelans in many ways, so it's difficult to, can you imagine to present this in in Canada or in the US and not in Venezuela, where there is a huge, beautiful mural of my father in the neighborhood of Venezuela, the 12th tribe of Israel, you know, so, but we're here, and we're blessed to be in such a nice country, and we're happy that we're here, but, you know, it's been a turmoil, it's been difficult. So, in regard to me, the first generation of my father's only daughter, they say single sibling, I've been told recently. Well, recent studies show that his deep wound, his deep trauma as a survivor of the Holocaust leaves a trace in offsprings. So even before they are born, so I don't know, I'm not going to go through the hassle to find out how much my DNA is, but obviously I have had a difficult life as an only child. My father and mother have had to emigrate, and you read it in the book. So I always wanted to have more family. Finally, I have a bigger family. I was only me and my parents, which were unbelievably wonderful. So what happens with children that are born from the first generation, they get they're very, very traumatic for a very long time unless the person attends psychotherapy. I can tell you that psychology has helped me a lot, very much. I think I am an example. I apply to myself what I teach my patients, and I think it's working very well. So, and also for the first generation, I was subject to the conspiracy of silence. There was an unspoken agreement of my parents not to discuss traumatic events of the Holocaust. I was a child, I was a woman without a past, with a very tiny family circle, very, very tiny, me and my father and mother, and that's it. Well, and we had her brother, but he was living somewhere else, so I felt it like that anyway. That's how I felt. I had a feeling of being like a speck in this vast universe, like, I'm here, you know. But until a year ago, after my highly unsuccessful attempts to learn about my ancestry, with the expertise of Aunt Lizzie, we found out that my father's beloved sister, Jenny, was deported to death in the camp of Auschwitz. I couldn't believe, I mean, recently, I'm talking about a few months ago, and we found out also, thanks to Lizzie, that finally it's good to know, to have a closure, to know, you know, what happened to your family. And apparently, we're not very sure, but my father's father was deported to a concentration camp called Sobibor. And guess what? We still don't know. We need to find out where his mother, his beloved mother, had a tragic ending, but where? And that's our final search right now. Anyway, but you know, music is a form of healing, and art in painting is also a form of healing. There are many others, but I'm mentioning the ones that Ricardo Kort used. And to narrate his life, when you narrate your life and you do a memoir, is a form of healing. Ricardo Kort accomplished all three of these. And at the end of his life, he transpired like a sense of humor, a bit quirk, like Jonathan mentioned, so he'll talk to you about it. But anyway, so I will start with the program that you've been seeing. In the first, we will have my beloved daughter, Sophia Rosenberg. She will do it's a prayer for the Holocaust. Sophie Rosenberg, please. Here, the microphone. No, you need the mic. Here, you can read it, it's here.
Hello everyone, my name is Sophia Rosenberg. I'm the granddaughter of Ricardo Kort, and I'm going to do like a small prayer for the Holocaust memorial. So please stay comfortable, and I'm just going to, we have a light candle here beside the book, but so it comes like that. I'm going to say it in English first. O God, who art full of compassion, who dwellest on high, grant perfect rest of the thy divine presence to all of the souls of our holy and pure breathing, whose blood was spilled by the martyrs in Auschwitz-Belzec, Bergen-Belsen, Dachau, Majdanek, Sobibor, Treblinka, and another extermination camps in Europe, who were killed, strangled, burned, and buried alive for the sanctification by thy name. For whose souls we now pray. May their resting place be in the Garden of Eden. May the Master of Mercy shelter them by the shadow of his wings for eternity. And may he bind their souls in the bond of life. Hashem is their heritage, and may they respond in peace in their resting places. Now let us say amen. And please, let's give 1 minute of silence. Thank you.
El Melech Rachamim. I am Natan Benaim. Hello, I am director of Confecciones Paramount in Venezuela. Amigo de la familia, muy amigo. El Melech Rachamim Shocher Amerumim. Amaase Menuchat Nechona Tachat Kanefei Ashehina. Me'amalot Kedushim Teriorim Besohar Kakaraim Mesoerim. Et Neshama Ricardo Kort. Shealach Leolamot Begam Edem Tie Menuchato Lachem Beal Arrechamim Yasterieru Betzeter Lefanach Leolamim Betzirot Achayim Et Nishmato Adonai Hu Nahatanu Beyanuja Beshalom Et Meshuhatbo Neomar Amen.
We will continue now with the youngest great grandson of Ricardo Kort. Oh no, sorry, first Charles Rosenberg, the handsome 10-year-old great-grandson. And his mom.
My name is Charles Rosenberg. Ricardo Kort was my great-grandfather. He was born in Vienna, the capital of Austria. My great-grandfather loved music. He went to music school like me. His favorite instrument was the violin. I play the xylophone. Maybe one day I will learn how to play the violin just like him. My great-grandfather had to leave Austria because the Nazis took over the country and he was Jewish. He had survived the Holocaust, but his family did not. If he had not survived, we would not be here. He traveled a lot and lived in many places: Bulgaria, Bolivia, Venezuela, and Mexico. I have not read his book yet. It has 500 pages, but I am looking forward to reading it when I'm older. Thank you.
Okay. Now this is the youngest one, Jackie Rosenberg. We're becoming very good friends, right, Jackie?
My name is Jax Rosenberg. Ricardo Kort was my great-grandfather too. He was an artist. He loved to paint just like me. His paintings have lots of colors. He painted people and animals. He also painted places and shapes. He used oils, acrylic paint, and watercolors. My great-grandfather wrote the story of his life. He dreamed that this story would be published one day. We are happy because his dream is finally coming true today. Maybe one day I will write the story of my life too.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. I love you. Thank you. The kisses come afterwards. Okay, now we are going to see Nicole Alaevi and Nicole Levy Rosenberg. She's my beautiful young daughter, a granddaughter from the daughter of Sophia, and you're ready. She's going to talk about you.
Okay. My name is Nicole Levy. Ricardo Kort was my great-grandfather. So, about the author. Ricardo Kort was an Austrian author, artist, and musician born in Vienna in 1911. His work of authentication, Yesterdays, The Extraordinary Art and Travels of Peter Kerr, depicts the unique life journey of a talented, courageous, and sensitive artist who used his creativity both to survive and to thrive despite countless adversities. Kort's vivid storytelling portrays life in Europe during World War II and Hitler's rise to power. After his Austrian rights and citizenship were revoked for being Jewish, he and his family fled to Bolivia, where he lived until 1945. He then immigrated to Venezuela where he wrote the present book and painted a monumental mural of the 12 tribes of Israel, which can be seen in the main hall of the B'nai B'rith in Caracas, Venezuela. Due to severe political turmoil in Venezuela, in 1999 he decided to immigrate once more, this time to Guadalajara, Mexico, where he continued to create paintings and drawings. Despite never completing his formal education, Ricardo Kort always maintained a deep connection with the arts through painting, photography, writing, and music. Playing the violin was one of his greatest passions and provided a livelihood after escaping the Holocaust. He lived peacefully until the age of 96. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now my son Jonathan Rosenberg has a few words.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining and taking the time to be here with us. In the height of the pandemic, I decided to confront some of my generational traumas. My grandfather, a survivor of the Holocaust, had written his memoirs many years ago, and we decided to publish them. It was a lot more work than any of us imagined, but we finally did it. Ricky, as we affectionately called him, was a father to me. He taught me the importance of standing up for your beliefs, the power of art and creativity in a world that glorifies rationality, and that connecting to nature can heal even the deepest wounds. I'm grateful for the many life lessons he gifted me in my formative years, for his humor, his candor, and his quirks, for his unedited honesty and his love. This book gives the reader an opportunity to connect with an incredible individual who shows through the narrative of his life experience, one that was filled with tragedy and sorrow at times, that growing is a choice.
Now my very nice niece, Anael Levy, will talk about the prologue of the book. Great, yeah. I like that. My granddaughter Anael. Well, I feel her. Anyway.
Hi, my name is Anna L. Levy. I'm the great-granddaughter of Ricardo Kort. I'm about to read next the prologue of the book, written by Ricardo Kort. Our story begins shortly after the First World War, at a time when the earth has been divided into the conqueror and the conquered. The characters are fearful because they dare not think what the world might become tomorrow. They are conscious that it could be reduced again to bleakness and ashes by men who have dedicated their knowledge to the destruction of their fellow man. Confronted with such an uncertain future, they prefer to romanticize a past which, in their memories, resembles the Garden of Eden. They sigh fondly as they longingly recall the most beautiful of times, and in many ways, this past was a golden epoch. It was without the mechanized horrors of today, at least not in such terrible sophistication and quantity. But it is equally true that human beings have always been cruel and hard, and wars were forever beginning and ending, even in those good old days, before the Second World War. That golden epoch was as cruel as any other time. As our story begins, we find that people do not appreciate what they have. Like typical human beings, they wish for a better era and yearn for more. With great effort, they have begun recuperating from losses and misfortune imposed by war, and the arts are beginning to regain importance. Everyone is impatient to get on with a new life and quickly reconstruct what has been demolished. Yet if the characters in our story had the power to see into the future, they would surely conclude that even with all its ups and downs, this post-World War period was like a paradise. But now, on to our story.
Thank you, Annie. What you just heard is the prologue of the book. Yes, and now you will see a short video designed or prepared by Adriana Panero and Jonathan Rosenberg. It's a tribute to Ricardo Kort. Yes, I'm glad. I hope you liked it. The contact, if you need to contact us, you can do, it's very easy, felicitascourt@gmail.com. So, before I want to open to Q&A, I just want to end with the following, that in the circle of life, we're not traveling this world alone. And you, great-grandchildren of the third generation, can help move the needle forward, drawing on the part that can really make changes for the future. Yet the Holocaust will remain forever in the collective memory. We will repeat again and again, not ever, under no circumstances, never more. So I'm happy to hear Q&A. Any questions? Open the microphone, my technician.
Let me see, how do I stop? Yes, I would like to start.
Yes.
To stop this.
Well, you can write in the chat also. I'm standing here, I don't have.
Do you want to stop that, Felicitas? Because you.
I stopped it. Yes.
Okay, good. We hear you. We're back to normal.
I'm back to, okay, so very moving for me.
All of us.
So the next that I like to share is the PowerPoint, and the PowerPoint third part, like I mentioned before, it's a presentation with impressive findings of about my father's family. But the important thing is that, very important thing is that all the family went to Vienna this summer, and the government of Vienna they presented a plaque in the house of my father, and this is what I want to show you. It's very difficult for me to explain it. Adriana, she's already here, but and Adriana, I would like, there she is. Let me introduce you to Adriana. She's my lovely, I don't like to say daughter-in-law. She's more than a daughter-in-law. Adriana is unbelievable. And we have worked our relationships, and she's wonderful. I'm so happy you're here. And this part that I'm going to show is, you are the protagonist of this part. And I hope the Q&A about this part will be addressed to you mostly. So I'll go back to share screen, and let me, Phil, I have that and minimized the video,
The share screen piece?
no, the PowerPoint presentation is minimized. How do I do that now?
By hitting the PowerPoint and.
No, but I don't, wait.
I don't see it. Why don't you, can you get it up on the screen and I can then help you?
Yeah. Oh, there it is.
Okay.
There it is. Oh. So can you see it?
I see about 10 different, yeah, that's your PowerPoint, but it's presented.
It should say new share, right?
I think you should go to where there's a icon for, it's at the bottom of the screen.
Play start.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah,
there.
that's the way. There you go.
I'm learning. Thank you. Thank you for your patience.
And you might do better using the up and down arrow on the right-hand part of your computer.
I'll do that. Thank you very much. So this is the large information that Adriana's Aunt Lizzie Lee was able to provide us, and we're in debt with her, and Adriana will explain further. This is what we lived in Vienna now in last September 2022. This is the government of Vienna. We, together with the government of Vienna, and especially my son, Jonathan, was very insistent that we should get to this point. There isn't much I can explain how I feel about this, but it's there. We were all in Vienna. And this is his parents, Rachel Kort, Hersch Kort, where they were deported. And especially Jenny Reich, his sister, his beloved sister, which is mentioned in his book very frequently. also his parents, of course. And she was deported to Auschwitz, which is what we found very recently. This is the booklet that the government of Austria gave us, the Remembrance Path in Leopoldstadt Street in Vienna. And this is the book is in German and in English. And then this is the English our family, and it's the station. They went to several stations. I must share with you that this took a whole day, and Adriana knows a lot about this. The preparation for this is because there were other families. We had a whole day for the Remembrance Path, and I chose to attend. They started at 10 o'clock in the morning, and they finished around 5, going to different stations of Jews who were murdered in the Holocaust. So my decision was to attend in the afternoon only, where they would go to my father's house and other 2 people, but I remained in the morning with my grandson, the smallest one. I wasn't up to do the whole Remembrance Path. Really, it's a lot of pain, and I didn't want to go through that. I chose to be with my grandson, and we went in the afternoon, and that was my choice. And then this is my son. When they put the plaques in Vienna, he gave a very beautiful speech, which I don't know where we can. I'm sure Adriana will have a copy of that, and I will have it too, but it's not in the video here. And then this is where 36 Tauberstrasse in Vienna, and it apparently was in the 4th floor. And I'm in debt to Adriana because she, when we finished we finished the speech in the presenting the plaques in the floor. So Adriana escaped with all of us, and we started walking up to the building. I don't think they were sure we were doing that, but we decided to explore the building right there and then, and we did. We went up to the 4th floor. Adriana can tell you more about it. I was like, what are we doing? But we did it. And then this is the cover of the book. And this is the grandchildren in front of the 4 plaques, as you can see, Adriana's, my grandchildren and Adriana's kids, boy, Jack and Jonathan and Charlie. And then we had a family. There were 2 people, and 2 of us, 2 of our family could not attend. Sophia didn't have a passport due to the immigration and immigration issues. And the other one, Nicole, who you saw in the presentation, started at the University of Toronto, so she was not able to be in Vienna, but we're all very close. So this is, of course, a bit of marketing, where you can find the book actually in Amazon, and the royalties goes to the grandchildren, of course. Whatever, we don't know, whatever. So I'll stop share. I'm so happy I went through this fairly good. Now, I think we are ready for Q&A. Yeah, right?
Wow. Ahora, felicitas. Muchas gracias por compartir con nosotros tu hermosa familia y la historia de tu abuelo. Recuerda, ya no estés solo. Tienes una hermosa familia nuclear que parece bastante grande. Todos tus colegas en Venezuela y Canadá y otro lugar encantador en los corazones de todos nosotros. Todo está bien aquí en la ciudad de Nueva York.
Tan bello.
In case you didn't know, I simply thanked her in Spanish for showing us this wonderful piece of her family, all beautiful people, beautiful children, and told Felicitas that she was not alone any longer. She has a big nuclear family that's beautiful and loves her, many colleagues, I'm sure, in Venezuela and Toronto, and our group who loves her as well, and we're so happy she's part of it.
Thank
With
you so
that
much.
said, I'll open it up to hands going up. The first I see is Alfie. You have to, oh, hold it. I have to, hold on. I need to do this. I need to make sure you can unmute yourself. Okay. You all can unmute yourself now.
Yeah. Well, I want to start with Phil's introduction. I just want to say that Felicitas is a very knowledgeable and very experienced cognitive and behavioral practitioner. And secondly, I want to comment that this is an aspect of our group that far transcends the very rich professional clinical material that's presented. I think many of us are still resonating to the very touching and intimate comments from the last session we had from Frank and Charlotte and Claire and so on. This really contributed immensely to our understanding the sharing of personal material individually and about our families really enriches the group immensely and promotes the increased intimacy that exists. So thank you for Felicitas for a wonderful presentation, for sharing this material.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you. It's a pleasure.
By the way, my apologies for my bad Spanish, but let's go forward.
No, please do not say that, Phil. I think that it touches my heart very deeply. Thank you.
Barbara.
Thank you so much, Felicitas. This was extremely touching. And I learned a lot about your family, and they're so beautiful. You're absolutely graced with a wonderful family. And also it was, I just saw Liebhochstadt, the play, and it was devastating and very touching, and this just contributes to what I learned, and it just touched me very much, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Barbara. Yes, I saw Leopoldstadt too. It's very impressive. Very impressive. Yes.
Claire.
Yeah, I just want to join in. Felicitas, thank you and thank your family. And I particularly want to say a few things. One is I've known you many years. I think the one thing that stands out for me in our group is your wonderful warmth. You have a very warm, caring, and enthusiastic personality. And I guess that makes me wonder, when a family goes through such trauma, it's interesting how the trauma is healed. And it feels to me, and maybe later you'll talk to this, how healing takes place by being together, by sharing, by having someone or some people in that group be able to keep that family tie and that support going. I mean, your father is a remarkable man. He was an artist. He was doing all that. And somewhere all the pain and the loss that he went through came out in he was able to heal in this kind of way without using jargon, sublimation, He was really quite prolific and brilliant, obviously, and talented. And he was able to use what he had and pass it on and have it. So I'm really thinking about families going through trauma. My own family had a loss, my mom very early, and where sometimes that doesn't happen, the family splits and goes its own way and fragments. Your family, through you or whoever, and you can talk about that, really has enabled each other to go on, to find a lot of nurturance and support. It's a beautiful story on that level. I appreciate it very much. You're understandable in Spanish, Phil.
Thank you, Claire. We'll move on to John and Nicole. You have to unmute.
Thank you, Felicitas. It was very, very interesting. And to me, particularly, I was curious about the role of the woman. We talk about your father, and it sounded like there were quite a few women in his life. And what did they contribute for his progress, for his wish to live? Well, you know, we talk about the survival of one person. What about what did these women contribute to the survival and expansion of his skills?
Shall I proceed to respond to Claire? And yes,
You're in
to
control.
Claire, yes, Claire, it comes across the warmth that you see. I appreciate it. And yes, I've always been very, I mean, sweet and sour. I can't say I was always sweet. My mother was, but it's a work in progress. And even though I say in the video that I do my own therapy, behavioral therapy, that's not entirely true. I'm talking to a group of psychiatrists and colleagues. And in Venezuela, I did, when my mom had died in a tragic death, I had therapy, Melanie Klein, psychoanalytic Melanie Klein. And of course, you know, Melanie Klein is psychoanalyst, but also other kinds of therapies. And in California, I went to group therapy, some part of Gestalt therapy. So I've gone through different kinds of therapy. And in these later years, I think behavioral is
Claire, question.
Yes, sure.
To mine as well. I don't know. See.
Hold on.
No, wait. But can I answer to Nicole?
Yeah,
The question.
oh yeah, but somebody else is talking. I just want it to be you and now Nicole.
Oh,
Nicole, that is a very, as always, you have very poignant questions, very important, very to the point. Yes, when you read the book, he has a lot of stories about women, and although he was not a womanizer, but I don't think so, Adriana, I don't know what you would say, but he did marry, he had a first marriage before, during, and then when Hitler came, when he had to leave, he couldn't go back to Vienna, he went to Bulgaria, and there he met my mom. And my mom was a major, she was very, how shall I say, he was the artist and she was the one who worked, she was very successful economically. You know, like in Venezuela, she became part of she was involved in fashion, and she was head of the only department store in Caracas where she became a buyer of beautiful dresses. She was, that's where I come my relationship with New York, because she would travel to New York regularly and she would take me along since I was 7. So I felt in New York, she would come here to the shows and buy beautiful dresses for the Venezuelan women. And she was very successful while my father was painting and writing, you know, but he was successful too, but she was entrepreneur for sure, and very, very bright, and both were bright in different ways. And she played, if she wouldn't have been like that, I don't know if he could have painted all his life. Every weekend he was painting and writing and music. You see there is one photo where there are the 3 of us in a very formal way. Guess where we were? We were in Bayreuth, in Bayreuth in Germany, in the Wagner Festival. After he's a survivor of the Holocaust, he was a Wagnerian, and we were watching. We went to see Tristan and Isolde, which started at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and finished at 12 o'clock at night at the real theater of Richard Wagner. So wow, you know, but that's part of the anecdotes. So women were, and then when my mother died tragically, after a while, I guided him to have to have friendships or meet, and he met Suzanne Kort, who's the mother of what you in the photos you'll see, but she was a New Yorker who lived in Venezuela, and they got married and they lived, you know, for a long time until they went to Mexico, Venezuela and Mexico. So women were important, very, you know, made an important difference in his success. Yeah.
Other questions? How about the family? Does the family want to say something? By the way, I used abuelo. I could have said bisabuelo and padre, but I was addressing the grandfather aspect. Is there anything from your family they want to say?
I'm sure Adriana has plenty to say. She's a beautiful. I like to hear you, Adriana.
Hello, everybody. I'm Adriana. Thank you so much for opening this space for the story, for witnessing the story or part of the story of our family. It is a very, it is very close to us. We've worked so hard on it. I think Feli did not mention something that I find quite interesting. And I think that if it hadn't been because of the pandemic, probably or possibly we would not have done this. So when we found I come from Venezuela too. I've been in Canada, I'm in Toronto. I've been here for 15 years. So we came here 15 years ago. We brought many belongings from Venezuela and a big box with pictures. And in this box were pictures from my childhood, but there were also pictures from Felicitas' childhood and her parents, grandparents, and like there were like, you know, mysterious ancestors. During the pandemic, we found ourselves locked inside our homes with like, you know, uncertainty. And I found myself, you know, looking in the basement, what am I going to do now? And I found a box of pictures, and slowly it took us in this journey that went from, you know, finding who some of these people were. I remember texting Feli or calling Feli, like, who is this person? Who is this person? Like, oh, this is my aunt. This is my grandfather. This is like, you know, and like tracing back into our roots. It was kind of like a time traveling journey. Also, working on the book was another part. So we found family members who were like, you know, lost in the Holocaust. One of the things is that after the Holocaust, the survivors, many of them don't want to talk about it. It's too painful. And I think if I understand right, it's up to the second, the third generation to find out what happened. Like we have enough distance, even though it's painful, we have enough distance from the event to have the strength to look back. This is a generalization. It doesn't apply to everybody, but we wanted to do it. And so it was not only finding people who were lost, you know, we couldn't bury them. We couldn't say bye to them. We didn't know many of their names and their stories. So searching for them, we found their lives. And it was a beautiful journey. Certainly, it has helped with what Claire was sharing, intergenerational trauma or collective historical trauma. It has many names. Also, I don't know if Feli has mentioned, but part of that kind of like journey of reparation and looking back was to recover Ricky's nationality. So when the Nazis came to Austria, like, you know, Jewish citizens were revoked from their citizenship. John decided, my husband, Felicitas' son, he decided to recover the nationality. So that was a personal choice, and he considered very important towards healing too. Also, the memorial that Feli shared was part of that healing process. But above all, I think that the most important part of the journey is acknowledging what happened. You know, here in Canada, there's efforts being done towards healing intergenerational trauma in the Indigenous communities because of the residential school system. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It happened in the States too, different but very alike. And there's this sentence that I appreciate very much. They say that without acknowledgement, there is no reconciliation. So exploring the truth, putting out there and educating ourselves is so important. And as a family, we wanted to know more. We wanted to know what happened. We wanted to go to Vienna. It was not an easy trip. Feli was there. It was very bittersweet because one side of ourselves connected to who we were and found, oh, that's why we are how we are. But at the same time, we we were distrusting everybody. Like we felt unsafe. So it was a bittersweet experience. I think, towards on this path, we haven't been sure about, like, are we doing the right thing or not? It's been kind of like, trial and error. But I remember one thing, that one of my nieces who came with us to the trip, after the memorial, we shared what we appreciated the most about the experience. And she said something about that she thought that the past was the past and that we could not do anything about it, and that it's over, it's behind us. Why would we revisit? And she said that after that memorial, she thinks about the past in a different way, and that sometimes it is really important to go back and explore and heal. And I think that it's been a beautiful blessing, all this journey. Of course, it comes from suffering, and but as a family, doing it as a family has been very rewarding. And we're very thankful, and we're thankful that we can share this story with you. Thanks for being for witnessing this story. And I'm here if you have any other questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you for allowing us to be witness. May I ask a question, though, Adriana? Was
Yes.
John able to secure European citizenship for all of you?
Sorry, can you repeat? I couldn't hear
Yes,
the
was
first.
John able to get European EU citizenship for
Yes.
the family?
Yes. So he had to demonstrate that he was a descendant of a survivor of the Holocaust, someone who was displaced during the war. That was easy to do. It was fairly easy. We had my aunt Lizzie, who was the person who did the genealogical work. She had many of these documents. She was amazing. She's a detective. Like without her, we would not be talking about this probably. However, I must say that we also had the interest to get the nationality for my kids. And the moment the Austrians said that we had to register our kids in the military service, we said, no, we're not doing that. So this is like, we don't trust in general. There's lack of trust. So we said, no, we're not like putting their names on a list. Like our family was killed not even a century ago. So John recovered his nationality. We didn't do it for our kids. Maybe once they are older, if they want to do it, they can. But as kids, we didn't want to do that. And they already, like, I'm a Spanish citizen, so they already had the Spanish one. So we decided to stop there. But yeah, see, it was very bittersweet also to enter Austria using that passport, right? For John, he was like, okay, this is to honor my grandfather, but at the same time, like, all this suffering and all this pain comes from this place. So yeah, bittersweet experience.
I would like to add some comments in regard to what Adriana says. Because we left Venezuela, and for example, my daughter Sofia has a Venezuelan passport, and it's impossible to get. It's very complicated to get a Venezuelan passport. So she will become Austrian, and my son Jonathan also became Austrian, and they offered me to become Austrian. And I had a lot of contradictions about that. And I decided, no, I had just become an American citizen. And I felt like it was not loyal to the US. I didn't want to become Austrian. And the thing is that my father always said that Austrians were more, this is between, I already said it. That my father always says that, and that Austrians were more anti-Semitic than Germans. So I don't, I understand where they come from, my son and my daughter, but I don't want to become Austrian. I have a Bolivian, Venezuelan, American passport. That's more than enough. Yes. So, any other questions? So, you run the time, Phil. Thank you.
More questions, commentary? Claire, you have your hand up again?
Yes, I want to say just one thing. Adriana, I want to say I see why Felicitas makes a fuss of you. You're a beautiful person and a beautiful presenter. It was really a pleasure to listen to you. And on that, I wanted to let you know there's a psychoanalyst, Hans Lowell, and you almost repeat what he says, because one of the things he said about healing is to be able to turn ghosts into ancestors. To be able to.
Sorry, no, Phil, because Ellen,
Elena's hand went up. I didn't see it before. If she had.
Ellen, yeah,
Ellen?
you see her hand, the Elaine.
No, Ellen. Ellen, are you
Ellen.
trying to say something?
Ellen Maison.
Yeah.
No, this.
Okay, I just want to say how beautiful that was. It was so touching, so moving. And it brings up so many interesting questions about nationality, which, you know, when you're, as I am, you know, a citizen both of Canada and the United States, it's got so much meaning, just even getting citizenship that we tend not to think about. You know, we think it's going to be something like, oh, I mean, it's an easy process, but it brings up so much about where you were born, how you feel about the values of a country. But one thing I was very interested in, you were talking a lot about being an only child. And I think that's such an interesting topic. And I hope you come back and talk about it at another presentation, because it's psychologically, I think, so interesting to be an only child and how you feel, and particularly going through a journey like this, being an only child. What would it have been different for you to have another there to help you?
Thank you, Ellen. But to be an only child has its wonderful things, but very difficult things too. I'm not sure if I want to disclose, but I know Eileen wants to say something.
Eileen, yeah, I didn't see your hand.
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
Go ahead, Eileen first, and then we'll go to Steve, who hasn't talked, and then the Dietefas again. Go ahead, Eileen.
Eileen.
And then you have to unmute.
Unmute.
Let me help you if I can. Okay, so I'm asking you to unmute. You need to only hit the button on your microphone to do so. The icon at the lower left side of your screen.
Okay, is that all right now?
Yes, it is.
Thanks, Felicitas. That was very beautiful and moving, and I want to thank you for making the effort to make this available to us and for sharing so much.
Eileen, you would have loved the way my father played the violin. You're so much into music. He was unbelievably a very, very wonderful musician. And that finally at this point in my life, I'm married to music, actually. Well, anyway, let's continue.
Good. That's wonderful. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you so much.
Okay, Stephen, you haven't had a chance to speak. Stephen Porter.
Okay, thank you, Felicitas. I had a lot of feelings with this. As you may imagine, my own story is not that remote from yours. I was over the summer at a reunion of the remaining survivors of my own father's family, including my aunt, who's 95, I think, at this point, and she's the only one that's left. Both of my parents are gone, but there were all the pictures and all the people, some of which I'd never met in my life, some of which I knew when I was a child, who'd gone to the four corners of the earth and, you know, returned to northern New Jersey for this one day we were together. And, you know, interestingly enough, in my case, I also was experiencing my parents never wanting to really discuss what had happened to them. They were refugees from Antwerp, Belgium, not from Vienna. But anyway, they ended up in New York. But it was my daughter who put the real impetus into my going to this, and she's the one that's now wanting to look through all the pictures and to revisit some of the places in Europe where they lived before they escaped to America. And so I find it very interesting that your daughter has been at the center of this. And I just want to compliment you all. It's a beautiful story. It's a beautiful family. And so that's all I have to say. My heart goes out to you all. Thank you.
Very much, Steve. I appreciate your words, and I'm glad we're in many ways on the same page. And all the beauty that you see, it's a result of intense emotional work. You know, it doesn't come, you see the tip of the iceberg, but we've worked a lot to have a beautiful family, and we will continue to do so, right, Adriana?
Okay, so we have about 6 minutes left. So want Shira, who hasn't spoken as yet, and then I saw the Deaton Fast, and then Barbara Feld. So Shira, you're.
This was quite amazing when you started the film. It was really moving beyond. I mean, to get to know the family was one thing, and then all the effort to put, I cannot begin to imagine. I was so moved to see your father's vitality and will, like the thought of like carrying all this through and creating every time in a new place is beyond. I mean, the resilience that takes, and to build a family, and to, like, the passion of life in light of the circumstances is something that I think all of you carry, because also you have been, I mean, the family and yourself have been moving from one place to another as a result of political situations going on in different places. And it's just really beautiful and amazing to see all of you that way, and to learn more about your dad. And for me, the passion for art, like in seeing someone create and pursue, is that it's really never too late, how like really every place started. The other thing is that I really wish that Charlotte Kahn was here. I know she's not well anymore, but she had a story. She went back to Germany and did a lot of stuff relating to some reconciliation stuff. And she would have had a lot, I think, to share here that would have been extremely, extremely meaningful. So thank you anyway.
Thank you, Shira.
Thank you, Shira. Just a quick, because I want to hear Barbara, but I'd like to add that I created a website for my father, www.ricardo-kort.com. And because he painted all his life, I had the project of putting many, many more paintings, and we're discussing this with Adriana, because he said he sold more than Van Gogh. He would sell his way, but he painted, I mean, unbelievable. But there is a web page that is working, but in construction. Okay, let's continue.
I'm going to have to stop the meeting exactly at 11:45 because I have to use the Zoom link. So we have two people who want to speak, the Deaton Fast family and Barbara Feld. So first the Deaton Fast, then Barbara.
Go ahead.
I thought it was a wonderful presentation, and the importance of women in your father's life was another issue. And I also feel that how important you are in your own family, and that comes across very strongly.
And Barbara?
Two things. One is, I also am an only child, and maybe a number of people are. If we were to talk about it, we could all talk about that. But the other thing is, I have actually lived the story of a very close friend of mine who went through the Holocaust, but as a hidden child. And as different from some of the people whose families were in the concentration camps, she talked to her children about it. But you can see also how that generation has taken on a lot of research and interest, just as your children's generation has, but she has too. And she does many talks with school-age children about the Holocaust and being hidden and what that was like. And she also heard, she wanted a memorial to the people who hid her, who were a Christian family, and brought them here. So that was it became an extended family that was very interesting, very moving. And I went to that memorial to these sisters who were the children of the people who hid her. So that was a little different. Also, your father's art is, we can't hear his violin, but his art is very impressive. And I'm glad to hear that there's a website you're building that will show it. So
you, Phyllis. Thank you, Barb.
Thank you, Phil, for everything. You've been very supportive, and I understand more how to use Zoom and share.
To the entire family that's connected, we thank you all for sharing with us and joining us and being part of us, and that you let us borrow your mother and let her, and grandmother, whatever, to be with us as she is and share. And I'll say the last word, if I say it correctly, chévere. Is that not the expression? That's the Venezuelan expression someone once taught me. It means cool, fine, everything is good. All right, thanks again. We'll stop it here, and I'll send you the recording.
Chéverísimo.
Chéverísimo, gracias.
Okay.